Welcome, traveler, to the Inn at the Edge of Greenwood, a cozy roleplay podcast where adventurers from many realms come to tell their tales. You won't find any dice rolls or TTRPG mechanics here, just good old-fashioned make-believe and storytelling. We hope you enjoy your stay, and if you do, that you let us know with a review. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's grab something hot to drink and listen to a story. Dear friend, goodness, it has been a long while since I've written last. I hope you've been well. So much has happened here at the inn, I honestly wasn't sure if I would pick up my quill and write another set of letters again, but the stories that have come through are just too good to be left untold. The inn has been taking on new life as of late. More travelers are coming through, and I'm starting to feel like it's more my home. It's always been home, but it's always been my grandfather and father's inn. I'm learning slowly to make it mine. But more on that later. I have to tell you about our first visitor of the new year, a very enigmatic traveler who honestly left me a little taken aback at first. But the story they told, well, listen for yourself. The Inn at the Edge of Greenwood, Book 2, Chapter 1, Fangs and Family.
The moon is incredibly bright tonight as you walk along a small, thin path on the edge of a forest. And it's a little disorienting because you had been walking and just kind of musing to yourself and enjoying the night, but as you look up, you must have been walking for a while because you don't recognize the tree line from where you had been previously. And you look to your left and right and forward and back, and you don't see the town you came from, the lights of it sparkling on a hill or anything like that. Nevertheless, must have just gotten lost a little bit, so you continue on your path. And there's a spring chill in the night air and quite a bit of fog that is just kind of eking out of the forest and across the ground. And it's, for many people, it might feel a little ominous, but for you, you feel quite at home here under the moonlight.
Yeah.
As you go, the next thing that you see that could be ominous is a solitary building on a hill. It comes around a corner. As you come around a corner, you see it, and you kind of do a quick check to your left and right and don't see any sort of town here. You don't see other permanent structures. You see signs of people that had been here, cart paths and little bits of boxes and wares that maybe have gotten left behind. But this building on the hill seems to be the only thing that's permanent here. And that would be ominous here in the moonlight, except for the fact that there's a beautiful warm candle and firelight glow coming from the opening, and you hear just the slightest bit of music and conversation. You determine pretty quickly that this isn't some mansion or small keep, but rather an inn here on the hill. And it is getting quite late at this time. So what do you do?
That's a bit odd, but maybe they can, I suppose, point me in the right direction. It's not like me to get lost in my own town, and he's just going to head towards this building.
Okay, so as you come up closer to it, you see that it's a pretty standard, fieldstone based building with white walls and wood panels that come up. It's 2 stories, and you see that there's a staple around back, a little garden behind as well. The doorway itself is not open, but is cracked open a little bit, and you can hear plenty of noise coming from inside. There's both stairs and a ramp that lead up to the door itself, and you smell a little bit of something that's been cooking. Maybe, probably a pig or a boar that's been on a spit. But doesn't sound like a huge crowd inside, but people seem to be jovial and talking and happy.
I think I'll just walk up in there.
Okay. As you walk up and open the door, you see a very large hall, banquet hall style. The ceiling to this building is quite high with big wooden beams that cut across it. There is an L-shaped bar on the right-hand side, very close to the door that you came in on. A little coat rack next to it. And looking down your left, you see this large open space with lots of tables and chairs set up and a fireplace along the far wall. There's a door as well on the opposite wall that leads up a staircase. And you see probably about maybe 8 to 10 people scattered throughout. You see halflings and humans, a couple gnomes, and one elf that's sitting at a table with a couple friends. And behind the bar, you see a young man with short brown hair and a kind of a slender build, wearing an apron, and he is cleaning glasses and pouring beers for people who are coming up and ordering. And as the door opens, he turns and just clocks you real quick, doesn't, stare you down or anything, but just raises a hand and says, "Oh, welcome. Put your coat on the rack and have a seat, and I'll be right with you to get some food."
Thank you. I'm not wearing a coat, but I think I'll take a seat. And he just kind of gives the place a once over and gives like I suppose it's okay kind of nod, and finds a seat to take. I think on his own if he can.
Yeah. How generally perceptive or keen-eyed is your character? What type of details might he pick up here?
I think with the kind of person he is, he'd pick up the number of people around, whether or not they're armed, any entrances or exits, and definitely if anyone's like staring, I think.
Yeah. So you don't see anyone. So you see about eight people, including, and then 9 with the Innkeeper. You don't see any weapons per se. A couple people have knives on their side, but they're not even daggers. They're more like hunting or utility knives. No one's really staring you down. You don't seem to have, a couple people look when you come in and just, are aware of your presence, but no one's giving you a side eye or anything like that. So as you sit down and the Innkeeper eventually a couple minutes later comes over to you, would you mind describing what he sees? What does your character look like?
Yeah. So my character his name is Imra Adleth. He's about 6'4", 6'5", toned and like athletically built. He appears elven, but from his kind of red tinted eyes and unusually sharp canines that look almost like fangs, it's very clear that he's part vampire, a dhampir or half vampire. His eye, like I said, his irises are like tinted a blood red. And he has black hair and a twisted top fade. Around his neck is a red medallion encircled by like a band of gold. And I think probably the oddest thing about him is that his neck has kind of a scar or maybe even a stitching all across it, almost as if it was recent, like it's been slit at some point and it's healed over and been stitched closed. He's wearing a long, very regal cloak with a rose motif that goes up the sleeves, and those sleeves are rolled up to his elbows. And underneath that is a greyish top with a red waist belt and slightly darker grey harem pants, and very, very nice. Clearly, this person is rich because everything he wears is pristine condition, especially his boots. Even though he's definitely been walking through the mud, he always seems to have them clean or cleaned frequently. Other than the scar around his neck, the other thing that'd probably be odd about him, or at least people would notice, is that from his around bicep up to his like the start of his fingers is entirely wrapped in bandages on both arms. But yeah, I think that's pretty much how he looks. He just takes a seat very casually and leans back in it and watches the barkeep.
Yeah, so the innkeeper, as he comes closer, now getting a better look at you, there is a bit of a pause, especially as you can tell that he clocks your eyes and your teeth. Nevertheless, he, does his best to not, make too much of a visual display of his emotions, and steps over and says, "Welcome to the inn at the Edge of Greenwood, traveler. Can I get you something to drink or eat tonight?"
Sorry, did you say Edge of Greenwood?
Yes, that's the name of the forest outside that you would have been traveling along. Are you from these parts?
No, I can't say I am. I've never heard of Greenwood.
I see. He looks and clocks your ears as well. Forgive me, but are you from Mirren, the Elven Kingdoms?
He just shakes his head, just staring at this person like...
And you see the innkeeper kind of doing mental math a little bit, and then there's a little bit of a, not a smirk, but almost like a smile of recognition that comes over his face. Goes, "I see. Welcome again. This place is a wonderful and sometimes odd area where people who aren't quite sure how they got here do often find themselves here. Have no worries. I've not met anyone that hasn't made their way back home again, but to be quite honest, I don't think that you're probably in your same kingdom or world right now."
Huh.
Are you familiar with the plains?
Yes, I am.
You might be in a different one. I don't mean to assume, but if you're not familiar with Greenwood and you're not familiar with Mirren being an elf as yourself, I don't think this is your home, unfortunately.
No, that's interesting. Thank you for that information. I suppose it makes sure to keep clear of whatever region had the weak point that walked through, but do you know if there's a way to get back?
It seems to just happen.
Okay.
And sometimes not to alarm you, but I've had visitors who have been here for a week or more before it happened for them. Some the same night they arrive. So it's hard to tell.
No, it's fine. I have time, I suppose, if it's a week or a day. Yes,
You're taking this remarkably better than many patrons who come through my tours, I must say.
I'll admit this is probably the most normal thing that's happened to me in the past week or so.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's... He doesn't know what to say to that. He's just kind of like you kind of get that sense of like he's used to being the one explaining the strangest thing that's ever happened to someone, and to hear that come from you, he's very kind of like taken aback. But he just kind of chuckles to himself, and then would you like a room then for tonight while you wait for your home to bring you back?
Yes, I suppose if we don't know how long it's going to take, I'll have a room for a week, just in case.
Certainly, no problem at all. And anything for food?
What's your finest alcohol?
Oh, well, since the borders opened again for trade with the elves, I've been able to get a lot more of their spirits down here in our kingdom. And there's, well, take your pick. Their brandy, their bourbon, their wines, it's all quite wonderful.
I'd have a wine.
Red or white?
Red.
Red. And he goes back, and you see him pull a bottle out from underneath the bar and pop it and pour you a glass of red wine, brings that over to you and sets it down. Could I get your name for the room, please?
Yes, Imra Adleth.
Thank you. He goes back, you see him pull a big book out, open it up, write your name down. He grabs a key, brings that back over, sets it on the table, and kind of slides it over to you.
Thank you.
If you need anything else, please let me know, but we're very lucky to have a bard here tonight, so please enjoy the music, and if there's anything you need, just wave me down. I'm the innkeeper, and be able to help you with anything you need.
Could I get your name by any chance?
Oh, most people just call me the innkeeper. My name's Henry, but I don't really go by it.
I'll stick with the innkeeper then.
Okay.
Thank you.
So he goes back and begins his work, and yeah, there is a halfling in the corner, kind of tuning an instrument. Who now you hear a couple strums of chords begin to play, and a soft song. It's not terribly intrusive, just quietly coming from the corner, begins to play. And as you look around, there are a couple people now who, having you getting closer and them see you, are getting a couple stares. People are looking they're really trying to not be seen, but you catch it very easily. And yeah, they're checking your eyes, they're checking your fangs. It's definitely something that stands out from the normal visitor that comes through here.
I think whenever he sees someone trying to catch a glance, he just gives them the brightest, toothiest grin just to show off the fangs so they can get a good look at him.
And they immediately just duck back and try not to be seen. Very, very caught off guard and embarrassed.
And I think while this bard is playing, he'll pull out this book he has strapped to his side. It's nothing fancy. It's a very simple brown leather-bound book, a notebook actually, that he just takes notes in. And he kind of just pulls out a quill and an ink thing. Can't remember the name. Ink bottle, that's the word.
Yeah.
And dips the quill in it, and he kind of just lets his hand write. It's a thing that he does often just to relax. And also it's kind of his form of meditation. He doesn't even really look at the pages. It's almost like his hand is just writing on its own. So it's kind of just writing while watching the bard and then trying to catch any other curious onlookers who are staring at him to give them a bit of a fright as well.
You do catch the bard's eye at one point and give the bard a big grin. And instead of looking embarrassed and looking away, the bard just smiles back at you as they continue singing. They they don't seem to be taken off guard by anything, as most bards probably aren't.
Yeah, I think he kind of expects that almost. I think it's just kind of bards, they're the same in every plane apparently. But yeah, I think I think when he's noticed how when he said his name was Imra Adleth and the innkeeper didn't react in any particular way, was just yeah, sure. He just kind of oh, okay, that's odd, I suppose. He usually gets a glare of disgust or fear whenever he reveals his name, but
yeah,
got nothing that time, which was, I think, maybe a bit disappointing for him, because it's maybe I'm feared in other planes as well. Let's see. No, okay.
The song comes to a conclusion, and there's a smattering of applause. And then that bard who caught your eye raises their voice and says, "Newcomer, visitor, is there a song that you would love to hear?"
I'm not entirely sure if you know any of the songs from my home, but do you know anything? What kind of mood I'm trying to set? Anything joyous as well. You already had something. I don't want to change up the mood that you've been playing already. Something joyous to get people excited.
Joyous.
Moving.
I can do joyous. And there's a quick strum of the instrument, and there's a small cheer that goes out as a familiar tune begins to be played. And very soon they're stomping and clapping, and people are banging their tankards on the table. And very soon a very joyous drinking song begins, and it goes for a short time and then ends with a cheer, and the bard kind of tips their cap to you and then points to another cap that is on the floor in front of them and just gives a wink.
Yeah, I'll pull out a gold coin. I don't know if the currency from my place means anything here, but he'll pull out a gold coin and flick it over. Probably can't quite get into the hat from where he is, but he'll give it an attempt at the very least.
I would say that with your provocations and dexterity, you would absolutely just slowly through the air. It tumbles. Yeah. It goes past someone's shoulder and arcs perfectly into the hat on the floor, and the bard gives a nod of approval to the shot, and then continues singing.
And I think the one. So I probably like gave a few people a scare by grinning at them when I saw them staring, but the first one that stared, I want to like walk over to them and just take a seat beside them.
Okay, it's at a table with two people. It's the table with the other elf that's in the room, who, as you get closer, are you, in your world, are there Eladrin?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so as you get closer and you look at this elf, it's interesting because it's very obvious an elf by the ears, but the features overall are much more exaggerated. There's a long pointed chin and nose, the ears are very long and come to almost these fine points, almost whisker-like. The eyes are, there are no whites to the eyes. It's all iris. But they have a friendly smile on their face, and as you get closer, you see they are sitting with a halfling woman, and she has long red hair and a round, friendly face. And as you sit down, joining them now, the elf and the halfling both kind of look at you with kind of a wide expression, and the elf, he says, "Can I help you, sir?"
Oh no, I thought there was something I could help you with. You seemed oddly intrigued by my coming.
No, apologies. Didn't mean to stare. Haven't been anybody new to the inn in a few days, so was just happy to see someone new. Please, can I buy you a drink?
No, I already had a wine. I try not to drink too much, especially when I'm not entirely sure when I'm going to be getting home. But can I get your names? Might as well make some friends here while I am here.
Yes. Well, my name is Terrell, and this is my friend Primrose.
It was a pleasure to meet you, Terrell and Primrose.
Your name, sir?
Imra Adleth.
I see. Nice to meet you, Mr. Adleth.
Just Imra is fine.
Mr. Imra, very well.
You can drop the mister as well.
Apologies. Just trying to show my respects.
I appreciate that.
Well, have a wonderful stay. And he's like very politely trying to get you away from their table, but he's still very intimidated by you.
I think Imra definitely clocks onto that, but doesn't react. Just kind of leans onto the table and just says, "So, what's it like here on the edge of, I suppose, what? Greenwood? I'm new here."
Oh, well, it's been some time since the borders opened up, so I'm fairly new myself. Having come down from the kingdom of Mirren, it's a lovely place with fine people and hard workers and just a quiet lifestyle, I guess you could say. None of that adventuring and wars and fighting that the south of the kingdom seems to see quite often.
So there's no wars, nothing, no major conflicts happening now, at least with Mirren.
No, between Alson and Mirren, not at the moment. Differences have been put aside for the time being, for the greater good. I suppose that the kingdom is blessed to be not embroiled in conflict for the first time in a long time. And you, sir, where do you hail from?
I don't know if you know it, especially after what the Innkeeper let me know, but I'm from, my city's name is Holomog. My mother's the Duchess of that city.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm terribly afraid I'm not familiar with the name of the city. Is it across the Western Sea, then?
You could say that, yes. I'm sorry to pry more, but how long has it been since the last major conflict between Mirren and, what was the name of the other
Alson
nation? Alson.
Well, I suppose it's been probably, well, since King Usman took reign, it's been 15 years. And it had been 20 years prior to that the kingdoms had been at war, so, and then it's been a couple of years. So, I mean, yes, between 25, 26 years, I would say.
I think he kind of pulls out his notebook again and starts writing down in it. And I think if anyone, he's not really trying to hide it at all, honestly, but like, it's not obviously out in the open. But if anyone could see over his shoulder, he's definitely writing, Mirren may have depleted forces or not fully equipped forces, possible conquests, and kind of underlines that and then closes his book.
I love it. The halfling woman has not said anything this whole time. She is just like kind of wide-eyed, like looking at you, and like you can tell that she's like, you see like this little bead of sweat that's going down the side of her face.
I think very suddenly, like this whole time he's been looking at Torel, he just very suddenly snaps over to look at Primrose and just says, "How about you? Do you have a story to tell?"
Oh, good sir, I don't have much in the way of a story to tell of my life. It's quite boring, quite day to day. And Terrell kind of puts a hand over and assures her. He's like, Miss Primrose isn't much for storytelling. You'll excuse us. We're on a bit of a romantic evening.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was intruding. Please continue. And he stands up and gives Primrose another smile. Again, just all fangs.
And she like tries to smile back, but it's very forced and almost like a little kid trying to smile for their school pictures. It's just it's almost gruesome.
He just chuckles a little bit at that. He enjoys this kind of stuff, and I think he's gonna walk over. Is the bard still like on stage? I don't know if there is a stage, but is he still up front?
He is. The bard is still up front, but they are in the middle of kind of taking a bit of a break. They've got their instruments set off to the side, are pulling some coins out of the hat. And as you walk up to them, they give a bit of a nod and say, "Hey, so you tried to stump me with a song, but no such luck."
No, I didn't think it would stump you. You seem like I've come across many bards, and it's hard to stump them when it comes to the music. So I just was testing if the bards around these ends are the same.
You'll never find a bard more up and on their game than I, my friend.
I'll take you up on that. I think I've seen many bards, and I can definitely say you're at the very least amongst the top.
Well, I appreciate it, and kind of pulls off their hat and flourishes a bit. Phenothetris at your service, sir. What can I call you?
You can just call me Imra. It's a pleasure to meet you, Thenel.
I have a proposal for you, Imra.
Please, what's your proposal?
He pulls into his coin purse and pulls out about 7 or 8 gold pieces, and kind of almost like poker chips begins to drop them and kind of move them. Very deft, quick hands, very obviously plays with coins often, and kind of shuffles them a couple times and then sets them on a little table that's in front of you. And he's like, "Match that, and we'll have ourselves a game of stories. Whoever's story is, shall we say, the more impressive, takes the pot."
I suppose this is more pocket change, but if that's all you have, I'm going to pull out an equal amount and just lay it across the table.
Ah, big spender, are we?
I mean, I suppose. I'm not entirely sure what my currency is worth here, but...
Well, gold is gold as far as I'm concerned. He kind of picks up one of your pieces and looks at it. I don't recognize the stamps, but again, gold is gold.
At least that's consistent across the plains. So, should I go first or you?
I'll go first. I'll give you a moment to think.
Okay.
So I was in the town of Trowbridge recently. which is mostly humans, which is probably the only town in Alson that is mostly human. And those big folk don't really pay much attention to us little ones walking around. No offense, of course, to yourself.
I'm taken.
Not used to keeping the eyes that low. So I'm walking along, and all of a sudden, I feel a bump in the back. Now, not terribly uncommon. I've been bumped into before. But, you see, I'd been having a bit of drink the night before, and my head wasn't terribly healed, and I was not in the mood to be bumped into, shall we say. So I turned quickly on my heel to give a cuss to whoever had upset my gait. And my eyes went up, and my eyes went up, and my eyes went up, and eventually found the face of my assailant. I was standing in front of one of the largest Goliath men I had ever met in my entire life. Now, the most interesting thing about this Goliath is that, well, again, not to paint with a broad brush, but by the by, Goliaths aren't known for their, shall we say, great works of mechanical engineering. However, this one seemed to be decked out in all sorts of interesting armor, with all sorts of tools and gears and little doodads about them. Everything pristinely shined and well-maintained. I looked up with a start ready to give them a cuss, and they looked down at me and just smiled and lowered their head slowly and came down to my level and said, "So sorry about that, my friend. Didn't see you there. Can I buy you a drink?" Well, me being very taken aback by this Goliath, I immediately lost my words and stammered for a moment. And then they did the most obscene thing I've ever had happen to me in my entire life. They picked me up and put me on their shoulder. Now,
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been picked up and put on someone's shoulder before.
No.
It's not the most, shall we say, well, I won't say unpleasant, but it's a little jarring. And all of a sudden we're walking, and I'm riding higher than I've ridden in a long time, if you know what I mean. And all of a sudden we enter this inn, and the whole place begins cheering. Apparently they know this Goliath. Apparently they're a regular. And the Goliath sets me down and begins to introduce me. Doesn't know my name, just introduces me as young master, and the whole place begins cheering. The whole place begins buying me drinks. The whole place begins asking me for a song. I'm quite confused at this point, of course. I've gone from being bumped into to now being hailed as a hero. And I spent the night drinking my fill, filling my pockets with change and coin. And at the end of the evening, when I went to find this Goliath, who I had not even caught their name, they were gone, like a ghost in the night.
That's very odd.
I woke up the next morning, and I came down from my room that I had gotten at this tavern. And no one remembered them, and no one remembered me. It is as if the previous night had never happened. But I reached into my pocket, and I felt all that gold that I had gotten the night before, and then one little piece that felt odd. And I pulled it out, and it was a little golden gear with etches all around. And they reach into their pocket and pull out this golden gear and kind of twist it between their fingers. And ever since then, the ghost Goliath Tinkerer has been my patron saint. And they flick it in the air and grab it.
Interesting.
Now, how's that? Little bit of joy, little bit of danger, little bit of ghosts. I bet you can't top it.
Let's see what I can do and see if that ends up topping it. I can't say mine is just as merry, I suppose, but I think I have an idea. So I come from a city named Holomog. You probably won't have heard of it. I suppose you're just in the far west. But my mother's a duchess of that city, making me, I suppose, nobility. But the thing about my mother is, one, well, I'm sure you can tell, and he kind of like grins to show off his fangs. She's a vampire. But the interesting thing about vampires is they can't give birth. So I came about in an admittedly interesting fashion. This is just a little bit of a backstory, so you know the type of person my mother is before I go into my story. But she never failed to remind me of this, and honestly, at this point, I don't really care. But I was made, I suppose, with the remains and the blessing of LaMountain. She's a goddess of monsters, if you haven't heard of them, at least in where I'm from. And in order to, I suppose, put me together, to birth me, to animate me, she needed some kind of life. So my mother, the brutish vampire that she is, killed my father. He was an elf, just a plain old elf, nothing special about him.
Praying mantis style.
Yes, I suppose that's actually a way to think about it. In Holomog, it's a matriarchy, so she had ridiculous power already as the Duchess of it, and even more since she was a woman. So even though many people suspected her of it, even though she outright admitted it to me, there's not really much I can do since she is the law, absolute power, and all of that. But again, like I said, I honestly couldn't care less. I never knew my father, have no need for him. Not really a fan of my mother either, so I wouldn't be surprised if that would have been the same for my father. But that's just a bit of information who she is as a person. She killed my father many times, tried to kill me. The only reason why she couldn't bring herself to it was because I'm quite literally a blessing from LaMountain, and she can't risk the wrath that LaMountain will rain down upon her. But now that that's over, let's go into my story. I suppose it's more of a love lost kind of deal, so I suppose prepare your heart.
Ah, I shall put on my armor.
So I, as you can tell, I'm a vampire, half vampire, and with my mother and honestly the things I have done, we quite literally rule over our city with an iron fist and very pointed fangs. And because of that, not many people want to stick around me. They often end up dying, either by my hand or my mother's. But then one day, I was approached while I was walking through my city by a beautiful person. They also seemed elven, very pointed ears, a lot shorter than mine, but they were very dark, very tall, about 6 foot, just a bit shorter than me. Very lean build as well, but they had a very gentle smile, soft hazel eyes, long black curly hair reaching just to the small of their back, and they wore red and golden robes. I patrol, I suppose is the way to put it. I walk around my city often. I know everyone and everyone knows me, but I'd never seen this person. I'd never met them. So that just meant to me that they must be new. They must be new in town. And with the plans I have for my mother, it's very important to me to have as many allies, or at the very least, subordinates in the city.
What about friends?
I don't really have time for friends, I'll have to admit.
Then you're poorer than you look.
I'm sorry, but I have to tell you that you're not the first to tell me that. And that person who told me that is currently dead. So I do think that I came out better than they did. And not by my hand, by the hand of their friend. So
I'll try to keep my neck safe from you then.
Don't worry, I'm not hungry. But this person, they approached me asking for directions, and this took me a bit off guard. Like I said, most people fear me, at the very least keep their distance. But this person just approached me like I was just some stranger on the streets. And, I mean, naturally, that took me off guard, and any snide remark that I would usually dish out to someone fell from my lips. So instead, I asked them where they wanted to go and led them there. And as we walked, I asked them their name, and their name was Naruma. And Naruma, she'd recently come into town, and they were just looking for a place to stay, just passing through sort of thing, which is fair. Like I said again, most people tend to stay clear of not just me, but the town because of people like me and my mother. But having someone walk through, I don't know, intrigued me. So I started asking questions, and it seemed like she was just on her way on a little journey that she goes on, her people. It turns out she's a kitsune. And they just seem to go from town to town, learning about different societies, different fields of knowledge. She just seemed to want to learn, which was very interesting and a breath of fresh air. I'm a sorcerer. I'm learned in the ways of magic. But my mother is just a, like I said, a brute. Just a sword and shield, that's all she really needs. Maybe the blessing of a god every now and then, but nothing interesting, nothing that requires more thought. And she always found it weak of me that I didn't enjoy martial fighting, that I was a spell wielder, a magic wielder instead of a sword wielder. So I was always brought up in a household, always surrounded by people just swinging clubs and axes, things I had no interest in. But this person, this apparently quite learned person, is here trying to learn. Not about life, but about magic as well. She was a wizard. So we're just talking, passing along our notes on the magics we're trying to understand and learn. And I'll admit, I grew rather fond of them. It's not every day I get to share an interest with someone that isn't just doing it because of the fear they have of me or my mother, or throwing their absurd interests at me.
I could feel the arrow coming from my heart already.
Yes. Well, I'd visit her often. After my mother would send me out to train, very forcibly to train with a sword and shield. Despite my lack of proficiency in any of them, she didn't stop trying, often resulting to violence to force me into doing it. After those training sessions, I would run off, without telling her, of course. I've seen what she does to the quote-unquote friends I've made. I'd run off to this kitsune, Naruma, and we'd just sit down in the park and read. I would often write in my journal, and he pats his journal, and she would just study the powers and powers of books she managed to get hands on during her journey. And every so often, I'll let her read my writings, though fortunately none of them make sense. They very much are more than just a flood of thoughts, almost a flood of, I suppose, spiritual manifestations, predictions. No one entirely knows. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but she would attempt it, maybe to amuse me, maybe out of actual curiosity. I never really knew. But it became a daily occurrence. And then one day, one of my, this is why I'm very much trying to get subordinates down on my side, but one of the subordinates of my mother caught me outside with Naruma. And like I said, I'd never told my mother that I was doing this. As far as she was concerned, I was in my library. She hates anything to do with reading and books. She thinks it's useless and pointless, so she never really goes in there to check. So she never caught on or suspected my lie. But this subordinate saw me, and before I could stop them, they ran off to tell my mother. It was the kind of thing where my mother strikes so much fear in people that unfortunately I can't strike enough to counter it. So I returned home in a hurry, told Naruma to hide as soon as possible. Like I said, I've seen what my mother does to the, again, quote-unquote friends that I've made. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. I see many of them again, but not alive. So I told Naruma to hide. And I went back home. And as far as I was aware, my mother didn't seem any different. She didn't bring up anything, didn't ask while I was out. So a little bit confused, I hunted down this subordinate and, of course, naturally killed them. Couldn't risk them blabbing to my mother. And then I went to bed.
Well, naturally, as one does.
Yes. I mean, you can't risk these kind of things. It's fine. There were many others that would replace them. My mother wouldn't notice. So I went to bed, and the next day I woke up with a pile of books on my bed. I'm a very light sleeper, so it's not often that someone can sneak up on me and do anything really in my vicinity without me noticing. But the fact that someone had made it very clear who it was. There's no one really as light on their feet as my mother. And I looked through these books, and she had no reason to want to recommend any of these to me. Like I said, she was not a fan of books. She thought it was pointless. If you wanted to learn through experience. And if it wasn't possible to learn through experience, it was no use in learning it. So I looked through these books, and I realized I recognized them. They were the books that Nairuma would read with me while we were in the parks. If my heart could beat, I suppose my heart would be racing, but luckily for me, I don't have to deal with that kind of thing. But I immediately knew what was going on, especially after I saw a splotch of blood on one of the pages of the book. Now, Nairuma loved their books. They would never, ever get any of them dirty. She took absolute care of them. She had her own protectors that she would take with her, even to the park, just in case they would get grass stains or mud on them. So, not just having the books with me, but this smeared book was more than enough to let me know that something was wrong. And again, like I said, I know exactly what my mother does to the friends I make. So like the many other times this has happened, I walked towards my window and I opened the curtains, and outside, right beside the others that my mother has dealt with, I see Nairuma, staked through the heart, burning. It was, for a moment I thought I should be hurting, that my heart should be aching, I should be feeling something, but only I didn't. I just sighed, closed the curtains, and added these new books to my collection, and moved on. Like I said, it's not quite as jovial or happy as your story, but it's a story that stuck. Despite the fact that I didn't feel anything, I felt like I should. So, I don't know, in my naive attempt to act normal, human, I don't know, I went over to her body, after it had finished burning, of course, and looked for anything that could remind me of her. I thought maybe if I did that, I would feel something for her. I'd feel some kind of urge to mourn, to cry, something. And in the remains of her smouldering body, there's a medallion, a red medallion with gold banding around it. Nothing special. It's very simple. Honestly, I have jewels on my pajamas that were more extravagant and more expensive than this. But I took it, and I still wear it. Not as a reminder of her. Even after I took it, I felt nothing, really. It was unfortunate, but honestly, I feel like I might have felt more if the books burned along with her. But I took it as a reminder of what I plan on doing to my mother. She's a warlord, and I can't say that I'd be any different in her place. In fact, I do plan on taking over and doing her job or better. But she did everything so inefficiently. Why burn someone on a stake? Just end it quickly. Why have all these subordinates trying to build up your city when you can expand and conquer others? I want everyone to just fear me. And the only person that doesn't is my mother, and I want to fix that.
You see now as you kind of come to the end of your story that it's not just the bard who's listening to you now. The entire tavern has slowly congregated around, entranced by the horrificness and the just how compelling your words are. And you hear a little bit of a gasp and a murmur and a sigh, and then kind of come out of your own kind of storytelling trance and look around and see that everyone's around you. And the bard kind of leans back and goes, "So you felt nothing, but you keep that around your neck, and you've devoted your life to doing something in her name. Yeah, you felt nothing."
You misunderstand. No. I wanted to kill my mother from the very beginning. You see this scar? And he points at his neck.
Mm-hmm.
I got this scar when I first tried to kill my mother. I was very young. I don't know. I couldn't be older than maybe 30 or 40 years old. And she slayed me. She quite literally killed me. It was honestly only because of the blessing of LaMountain that I came back. And that alone was enough to let me know that not only is killing my mother my priority, my wish, but LaMountain's. No, I've wanted to kill my mother for a very long time, and please don't. I'm definitely not asking for pity. I promise you, I am much worse than my mother. I just want to kill her, honestly. And having a god on my side, having a goddess on my side, sorry, LaMountain, it'll just make it all the more sweet.
And the bard kind of looks at you with squinted eyes for a minute, and then grabs a glass and, "Well, here's to killing vampire tyrants."
And replace them with new ones.
There were no ghosts in your story, friend, but I think you've earned this. And they push the coins across the table towards you.
He looks down at it and just says, "No, like I said, this is pocket change," and he pushes it back to the bard.
"You don't have to ask me twice." And they scoop it into their hat and like make it disappear. People begin to kind of like slowly go back to their tables and everything. And as the little bit of noise happens with that, the bard leans in and goes, "Okay, so like, this is incredible and the performance is amazing. How do you get the red eye thing? Is that like an herb that you rub in there to make that happen? Like, I can probably fashion the teeth. I'm gonna use this, of course. Sorry. Like, no, it's just what's gonna happen."
I'm actually a vampire.
Right. Commitment to the bit. I totally get it. But you gotta, before you leave, you gotta tell me how you get the eyes that red without it just being a problem. Because that's fantastic.
Well, that explains a lot. I suppose bars are the same, just dim-witted.
I would take insult to that if I wasn't already in such a good mood. And they kind of go back and begin to play another song. The innkeeper finds you a little ways afterwards with another glass of wine. He says, "This one's on the house. That was quite the entertaining tale you told."
I suppose that's one way to say it.
A bit gruesome, but no, anyone who can keep everyone in the tavern well entertained and buying more drinks is always welcome.
Well, I suppose you're welcome for not going into details, because it was rather gruesome, and I feel like it would definitely put everyone off the wine at the very least.
There is a line, isn't there, of too much, and then all of a sudden they don't want to order any more food. Yeah, of course. Well, it's been very interesting getting to know you, and for what it's worth, I hope you make it back safely. But in the meantime, the room, of course, is yours. You have the key.
Thank you.
And if there's anything you need, just let me know.
You mentioned Mirren.
Yes, the Elven Kingdom.
How far away is that from here?
Oh, goodness. Couple miles north is their border. Not far at all. Although how far you have to walk through the trees till you find their city, I do not know.
Good point. That's fair. let's hope it does take me a week before ending up back at home. I think I'd like to go sightseeing.
There are some wonderful sights around the kingdom, that's for sure.
I'm sure. And he gets up and heads to the room.
Imra was one of the more memorable characters that I've met in some time. I can't say that I completely relate to him. Growing up in wealth, having vampire blood, ruling, those are all things that seem very far removed from my little life here by the Greenwood. And yet, his story of lost love and friendship and grief, who couldn't relate to that? No matter where we come from, no matter how we may seem different at first glance, I think we're all much more similar than we tend to notice without looking a little deeper and listening to each other's stories. I'll write you again very soon. There are new shingles for the roof arriving in the next couple of days that need to be put on, and that will keep me busy for a while. But like I said at the beginning, there are many more stories that need to be told. Till then.